Morning. It is October 19th. Here we are again. Got a lot of stuff to share with you. We're going to talk about Andy and the comments that we're getting about his new makeover. And we actually now have somebody scheduled. But I want to, before we actually bring that person in, I want to get some more input from you out there about how Andy can improve himself as far as his makeover. But listen, I want to dive right into something. Precious metals expert and financial writer Bill Holter said that in June it was game over and that they were pulling the plug. Now, this was back in June. And the Fed went on an aggressive interest rate raising policy, and he says it's still raising the rates. And we know that they're going to raise the rates again. And, you know, the markets know it. Everybody knows it. We talked about it yesterday. Looks like the Feds are out to crash the market, you know, and that's what I was telling you as well. They entice people to stay in the market just as long as they can, or they will, and then the plug is pulled out from underneath you, or the door is broken up underneath you. It's like a trap door, according to John Hussman. And, you know, you're left with everything that you worked so hard for being gone, and then you just have to build it back up again. Well, anyway, he says now the economy is staggering. And he explains that for sure we're already in a recession. And I have to agree with him. Even though they're telling you it's 6 to 9 months down the road, we are in a recession. I mean, go to the gas pump. You're paying more for your food. Everything, prices are going up. You know, you can see everything that's happening. And we're now in the third quarter of negative growth as well. And I think it's laughable, he says, that people put odds on whether or not we're going into a recession, because it's obvious we're already in a recession. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the definition is 2 quarters of negative growth. And the reason the mainstream media is hedging is because the media is hedging because the job numbers have been pretty good comparatively. So I don't think that's going to be the case for much longer. I think we're just the signs are already there.
No, you're right, Andy. Listen, he says rates rising have absolutely frozen the real estate market. And this is what Robert was talking about yesterday. He was talking about how real estate. So he says rates have absolutely frozen the real estate market. And if you own a property, who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy it? Rates have gone, like Andy just said, from 3.25% to now more than 7%. And they're going to continue to go up, and prices are going to continue to go down. So he says, I'm on the record that once we saw a 3% yield on a 10-year treasury, you would start to see a tightness in credit. Now we're over 4%. What few people are talking about is what this has already done to the derivative market. That's what he's saying. Well, what has it done to the derivative market? Think about how big the derivative market is. Total credit worldwide is $350 trillion. $350 trillion. But you have derivatives pushing 2 quadrillion. Do you know what can you explain what a derivative is, Andy or Robert? Do you know what a derivative is?
Yeah. It's basically debt that has a connection to some asset, but the connection to a real asset is many steps removed.
Yeah.
So you're buying someone's debt, they're selling it to someone. So it's very, very far removed from any kind of real asset. So they're basically speculative plays that have some, loose, distant connection to an asset like real estate.
That's right.
And that was the failure.
That was the downfall of 2008.
Exactly what happened. And
AIG. Remember AIG, the insurance company?
Yeah. Supposedly now, the derivatives exposure is 5 or 10 times.
Well, that's what he just said. I'm going to share that again. So he said what few people are talking about is what has this already done to the derivative market? What few people are talking about this? Think about how big the derivative market is. Total credit worldwide is $350 trillion. Now, what Andy just said was correct. You have derivatives pushing to quadrillion. Quadrillion.
Did it say in the article what it was in 2008?
I don't remember what it was, but I'll find out. If you might want to look that up while we're talking. See what it was. I'm not sure. It was a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those, that's what crashed the market was these derivatives.
Yeah.
But listen, he says, I've said this all along. Derivatives will blow up. And Warren Buffett has called them financial weapons of mass destruction. This is what Warren Buffett calls these derivatives. Massive weapons of mass destruction. Wow, that's some big words right there. And they are far bigger than central banks can even fix. Central banks are like our Federal Reserve and all these other central banks around the globe. And Holder went on to say this. He says, the real economy runs on credit. And everything you look at, everything you touch, and everything you do every day has many uses of credit to get the final product or situation. So once credit freezes up, it's now completely gone. Do you have that number?
Yeah, over the counter at 683 trillion. So $683 trillion.
In 2008.
Now we're at 2 quadrillion. So
it's pushing up.
That's about 4x.
Yeah. So like we've been saying, when it happens here to us in this market, in the U.S. market, in the S&P, in the Dow, and the NASDAQ, it's going to be way worse than '08, I can tell you now. And this is why some people say we're having a greater recession or a depression. Well, if we're already in a recession, according to Bill Holter and others out there, including myself, then what can it be 6 to 9 months down the road, you guys? Is that what they call a greater recession, or does that become a depression? It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. So here's the funny thing. Here's what he says. The real economy runs on credit. And everything that you look at, everything that we touch, and everything that we do every day has many uses of credit to get to the final product or situation. Just like if you go up to the gas pump and you use your credit card or even your debit card, that's still credit. Or you go into the grocery store, same thing. So that's we operate on credit. Remember, when you give your money to the bank or any of these guys, they're giving you credit and taking your money is what they're basically doing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
That's why they give you a debit card. Because then what they do is they debit the amount of credit that they give you. And then therefore, it's all numbers. It's like digital numbers, right? So once your credit freezes up, you can't get anything out. It's gone, right?
Well, yeah, that's like what Rob's talked about many times about the liquidity drying up.
Yeah.
And it's you're not going to have money flowing. There's going to be less money flowing out in the economy, and we know that's the only thing that's really been sustaining the economy for the last 15 years.
No, that's right. I mean, you think about it. I can remember when you're, let's just say, for instance, you're at a restaurant and you just ordered all this. You sat down, you ordered your food, and then you give them your debit card or your credit card, and they come back and they say, "I'm sorry, sir," or "I'm sorry, ma'am, your card's not working. You got another card?" And you're fumbling through and you can't. Nope, that one don't work either. Well, that's because your credit's frozen up. Everything that we do today revolves around some type of credit. So Once the credit freezes up, it's completely game over. What are you going to do? Right? So, in a past interview, Bill says, I said they're pulling the plug. And that's what he was talking about in June when he's talking about pulling the plug. And he says they have to pull the plug because what I've been saying all along, he says, mathematically, the debt cannot be paid. The debt cannot be paid. The derivatives cannot perform. So they have to pull the plug. And they also have to do one other thing, and that is they have to kick the table over. They have to kick the table over. And what will the false flag event be? What will the false flag event be? He says, I have no idea. They have to kick the table over so they can say that our policies were working. Sounds familiar. But whatever this event will be, it will, whatever this event will be, stop them, is what he's saying. And he thinks that the odds of having the midterm election is less than even. He said the Democrats are so far behind because of their disastrous economy. I've been saying this, oh my God, and it just amazes me that, I mean, who could destroy an economy that was handed to them? I mean, it was beautiful. Our gas prices were down. Everything was doing really well. And it was even with the COVID that was in, he was still handed an economy that was doing really, really well. But you got to remember, there was a certain person in the office before he got let out because of the COVID, and he told us. He said, your 401ks and your IRAs, you're going to lose money. Well, we're going to talk about that here in a minute because numbers came out yesterday about how much money, if you had $100,000, let's say, in your 401k, how much of that money has already been taken away from you out of that 401k. And that's just as of now. That's of now. We still got a few more months of this year to go. But anyway, Holter says and here's what he says. He says, if you think that the inflation over the last 2 years is bad, just wait. He says, along with that, you're going to have a huge wave that will last many years. But the initial destruction will probably happen in a 3-day period of time. That's fast. He says you're going to see massive deflation of asset prices. We've already been hearing that it's possible that around Christmas time, prices are going to be down so low. You know why? Because they can't get rid of the goods right now. They're too expensive. So what's that called? Deflation. So he says you're going to see massive deflation or asset prices. And it will be inflation of the things you need and deflation of the things you have. So
That's fine.
That right? What does that sound like to you?
That sounds like
It means like gasoline prices are up, toilet paper prices are up, eggs prices are up.
I mean, stocks are down. Your real
stocks are
estate's
down.
The value of your retirement accounts are down.
Oh yeah, I mean this is real.
I mean, this is what we've been talking about for such a long time.
Absolutely.
You know, we've been talking about this
Look,
forever.
we're precious metals experts as well, and this is writing on the wall. This does not take a hamster on a wheel to understand. I mean, this is real.
I'm just curious. So, like,
Hamster on a wheel.
This catastrophic event happens. Do we see a bunch of defaults? Then do we see a bunch of printing of money? Do we see the Fed going negative? Right? We see.
Well, let me share that with you, Robert. So Holter says, from a math standpoint of view, the situation is so bad and liquidity is so tight that the whole shithouse, he calls it, the whole shithouse is about to come down. And when it does, you will count your wealth in ounces and not in dollars, yen, or euros. I love that. You will count your wealth in ounces, not in dollars, not in yen or euros. And when all is said and done, it's about how many ounces do you have.
Right.
This is why we're saying, look, got ounces? That's going to be money. Got any ounces?
There you go.
You know how they say got milk?
Yep.
Now it's like got gold.
Right.
Got ounces. So, because think about it. Like he says, you will want to have as many ounces as you can have. So silver, for instance, they say is going 4-to-1. They're looking at numbers of silver being 300, 600, and I've always said very possible, because think about this. If digital air can become worth thousands of dollars, then what can something real become worth? Go ahead, Robert. You got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you know, a lot of analysts, a lot of money managers are comparing the situation we're in to somewhat of a, you know, mirroring of the Great Depression, right? So during the Great Depression, we've seen silver, for example, because we bought up silver, trading around 25 cents, go all the way up to $50, right? Between 32 and 33. So you're absolutely spot on. You could see a $300, $600 physical silver price.
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki saying it. Keith Neumeyer from First Majestic Mining, he's saying that there's going to be a massive, massive bull market in silver.
100%.
And it just goes back to one thing. I tell my clients this every single
Load up
day
now while you can at the price that it is.
What I tell them is I tell them it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And it's kind of like what Bill Holter's saying right now. He's like, you know, you'll be counting your money not in yen, rubles or whatever else he went into, but
dollars,
but in ounces.
Yeah, because think about it. Remember, in law of physics, what goes up must come down, right? And right now, the dollar is upwards. But when it comes down, that's when you want to have how many ounces do I own?
And let me just repeat something that I've said before to everyone, that the time to buy is right now.
Yeah, 800. Let me give them our number, Andy.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
800-753-8534. I'll give it again, 800-753-8534. Also, you can call us directly on the trade line at 323-380-5485. We had somebody call in yesterday, ask for Andy. So give us a call. We'll be able to help you if you want a little bit, if you want a lot. We have access to anything that you want, from silver coins to silver bars to gold coins to gold bars to ingots, you name it. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, and I don't want to take the mic away from Andy, but I think what a lot of people are doing right now is they're looking at this as a retail purchase, and what I mean by that is that they're looking at this from a very unsophisticated standpoint. They're looking at it from a very limited scope, a minuscule view. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not a buy low, sell high scheme. What this is you're actually providing yourself liquidity and solvency so that you could actually make it over the next 5 to 20 years.
You were going to say something else, Andy. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm not just saying it as a gimmick, the time to buy is now. You probably hear that all the time. But the reason is because prices have been consolidating. It's a really good price. Silver was up around $30. Now, you know, spot price is around, what, 18, 19 something.
Yeah.
So, but we haven't even seen the beginning of the bull market for silver, with the use of electric cars and solar panels and all of these things that are just in their infancy now. We only have 5% of cars that are electric now in the world, right? Now, that number could easily go up to 30% or 40%. So that's going to be a 6 to 8 times increase in the demand for silver from the car industry, which is one of the main.
That's a good point, Andy. Yeah.
That's a huge demand increase. You don't want to be rushing to get in when everybody else is. You want to get in when it's boring. When things are stable and the waters are calm, you can make a rational decision without pressure, and all of a sudden the price is running up. The value of your other assets are going in the toilet. That's not the time to be getting in. You want to be getting in now when the
right
waters
now
are
when the
calm.
prices, yeah, right.
The waters are calm.
Yeah, because look, and here's something else I want to share with you that Holter comes out. And again, here we have another warning. And let me tell you something. I always take heed of warnings. When banks warn you, when Buffett warns you, when all these guys warn you, take heed because they're telling you this for a reason, whether you accept it or not. And he says that the action you're seeing now is exactly what you saw in 1987. And this is what you saw in August and September of 1929. And this is what happens prior to crashes. This is what happens prior to crashes. It's massive volatility both ways. People are losing both ways. And the longs get stopped out on the downside, and the shorts get stopped up on the upside. Then the whole floor gives way, and that's where we are right now. We are right on the doorstep of a crash that will make 1987 and 1929 blush. Many people are going to lose everything overnight. Wow, that's some heavy words, you guys.
Very heavy, very serious.
And here's the thing as well. He brings in a massive point, but people are losing money right now. I mean, I don't know. The last time a lot of these investors have checked, some accounts are down 30%, 25%, 40%. They haven't seen max pain. Max pain is definitely ahead of us.
Well, let me share something with you. So the average 401k plan right now, all right? The average 401k plan is down 34,000 or 25% in 2022. And this is numbers as of yesterday. And these numbers weren't just pulled out of the air. The New York Post op-ed economist at the Heritage Foundation is blaming Biden inflation for the $2.1 trillion hit to people's retirement accounts. And, the New York Post took aim at this Biden inflation on Monday, claiming that 401k plans have suffered $2.1 trillion in losses this year. And that's the result of 7 straight months of 8% plus inflation. And there's still 2.5 months left in 2022. Hear this out. The average 401k plan had over 100. This is just the average. Okay? Some of you may have lower, but this is the average. The average 401k plan had over $135,000 at the start of this year. And this is Stephen Moore and E.J. Atoni, who are a pair of economists at the Heritage Foundation. And now what they're saying here, those assets have shrunk on average to about 101,000. So in other words, the average 401k plan is down about $34,000, more than 25% in less than 1 year. And pension funds are down too, they say. At the beginning of 2022, pensions in the United States have $27.8 trillion in assets. And now that figure has fallen below 24 trillion. That's a drop of about 15%. So think about, that's here in the United States. Now let's go over into the UK and to Europe right now. They barely even have enough money to even pay their pension funds. I've got friends of mine in Europe right now that are afraid they're going to lose their pension that they worked so hard for. And remember, guys like doctors and these public figures like over in the UK, they're a whole lot different than they are here. Doctors, they get paid a certain salary and then they have their pension. They live on that pension. That they can live comfortably on that pension. But right now, they're in fear. And one of my friends out there is asking me, like, he calls me Dr. Doom. And I'm like, I'm not Dr. Doom. I'm just giving you the numbers. And he says, I know. He says, it makes me sick. And I know you're listening to this because you listen to me at night when you go to bed. But I'm just telling you, these are things that we're seeing right now. And if this is already in the United States, can you imagine what the numbers are over in Europe? Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, this is the exact reason why the central bank um, in UK decided to pivot. This is why.
Talking about credit. Oh no, the central bank. Yeah, central bank. The bank.
UK.
Yeah.
Bank of
Bank of England.
Yeah, the Bank of England. They decided to go ahead and conduct that pivot because they were facing an all-out pension crisis. You know, complete decimation over their pension fund.
What do you guys think about the raising, seniors now that are eligible, or people that are eligible that already have Social Security or getting in Social Security? They're now getting raises on their Social Security. I want to share something with you and then get your thoughts on that, all right? Yeah. So Social Security recipients right now, they're getting a big raise, a big raise in 2023.
How much?
Well, that's the good news. And if you're receiving benefits from this program, it's not so great if you're hoping that inflation will go away anytime soon. And the SSA, the Social Security Administration, recently announced an 8.7% cost of living adjustment for next year. And that goes on top of the substantial 5.9% for 2022. So the 2023 increase is the largest we've ever seen in 40 years. But we've also seen inflation higher than we've seen, right? So this COLA, what they call it, COLA, C-O-L-A, will translate to an additional $140 per month for the average Social Security recipient. Well, the last time Social Security recipients got a bigger raise was back in 1981, and that's when it was at 11.2%. All right. Well, that increase will add about $100 billion of spending per year. Okay. And the Social Security Board of Trustees says that the trust fund can pay full benefits through 2035. After that, the board projects that the program will be able to pay 80% of the benefits. So a spokesperson for the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget told CNBC that the COLA could accelerate the depletion of the trust funds by at least 1 year, 1 calendar year. And the big COLA is a direct response to the ongoing inflation problem. And that's 8.2% annual increase in September is just one in long line of big consumer price index prints over the last year. And unfortunately, this COLA increase won't cover all of the rising costs that seniors face. And the Social Security Administration calculates that the COLA, based on a formula that uses the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, for all urban wage earners and clerical workers, average people, right? Average workers, like most government numbers, it doesn't actually reflect the actual cost of living for most retirees. And according to the calculations done in 2020, Social Security benefits had lost 33% of their buying power since 2000, and that was in the era of low inflation. So you can count on, number one, the underscores a couple of key points. You can plan or you can count on Social Security to actually secure you a comfortable retirement. Number two, you need to plan to protect your wealth from the persistent erosion of inflation. And more bad news. The COLA increase could actually add to the inflationary spiral. And Peter Schiff, who is another professional money manager, gold guy himself, this is what he says. And he's pointing out that the people who receive the additional $100 billion will go out and they will spend it. In other words, the government will be handing out more money so people can cope with higher prices, but that will inevitably push prices even higher. And here's what he says. He says people are supposed to cut back when prices go up. But if the government gives everybody more money to pay the higher prices, you're just fueling the inflation. In other words, you're putting you're putting more fire on the wood. You're just creating a bigger problem. And it's like a dog chasing its tail, he said. You're never going to catch it, which is why the government is never going to bring inflation down. That's why they say inflation is here to stay. And in fact, the extra money is going to prop up demand and possibly even increase it. Higher demand without corresponding higher supply inevitably means higher prices. And that will likely be reflected in the future CPI data, Consumer Price Index. And Social Security faces another problem. With the labor force participation rate falling, there are fewer people paying into the system. And Peter points out that the system depends on younger people working and paying into the system in order to keep this Ponzi scheme going.
It's a scam.
Yeah.
In a clown world, all this makes sense.
Right?
Yeah, it's only going to increase the inflation. It's a temporary thing that may give people a good feeling. They have a little more money.
Like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Like this oil reserves.
Right, but it's only putting fuel on the fire and
building a bigger fire.
And one thing we've seen, if you go back to the beginning of the Biden administration, is that inflation has been growing every year. You can look at the statistics. Every year, inflation has been growing faster than wages, right? So under President Trump, we had wage growth with low inflation. So your wages were growing faster than inflation. Now there has been some wage growth, but the inflation is far more than your wage growth. So you're net losing money, right? So you're falling behind. It's like the interest
I think that's
rate.
why more and more people are using their credit cards and getting into more and more debt.
Credit is exploding.
Wow.
Debt is exploding. And it's all happened really in the last couple of years. So we're seeing this effect where in California they give you an extra check to pay for inflation, but that's only going to end up, it's not going to be a solution. Like Peter Schiff was saying, it's not going to be a long-term solution. These are temporary Band-Aids, little feel-goods, usually done right before the elections, Yeah,
this is why you got more and more people actually also moving out of California because, look, those of you that are out there in other places that are paying $3, $4 for gas, over here it's over $7 a gas. And they say, well, the gas prices are going down, and we're going to give you a check. We're going to give you a check to cover. But that's what Andy's talking about. It's just a Band-Aid, and it's really not anything that's helpful. I want to share this one last part. He says the problem. This is what Peter says. He says the problem is those young people aren't there working, and in fact, older people are retiring earlier. So we have this smaller labor force participation rate. So the gap between what the government collects in Social Security taxes and what's spending in benefits is rising. So no matter how you slice it, it's clear that the Social Security system isn't solvent over the long term. Do you got anything to put in on that?
It's not solvent. Look, they're going to run out of money at a certain point, and that labor participation decline, that's really, really concerning. That there are fewer people out there working.
It's funny. Biden didn't even know how much gasoline costs. I'll tell you why. So there was the other day, Twitter completely erupted after Biden tells a reporter that gas in California has always been $7 a gallon. Listen to this. This administration is like every day. It's like, come on, what are you talking about? Listen, he says, and here it is. The inflation report's out, and have you seen? And this is this reporter asking him. And he says, the inflation report is out. Have you seen gas prices around here in L.A.? and $7 a gallon almost. And this reporter asked Biden as he paid for food at a Los Angeles-based taco shop. They're eating tacos instead of ice cream. And he says, well, he says, there's always been this case, Biden replied. You know, it's not, this is exact words, okay? And this isn't coming from hoax or this is coming from MSN, all right? Well, that's always been the case here, Biden replied. You know, it's not what nationwide gas prices came down about $1.35, and they're still down over $1. But we're going to work on. Housing is the most important thing we have to do in terms of that. First of all,
dementia.
It didn't even make sense.
All this fuckery.
This guy has no clue of what we're paying here. Newsom knows what we're paying here because they're padding their pockets. I'm sure of it. It's crazy that the amount of gas that we pay, or the amount of money we pay for gas here. It's just ridiculous. What do you got? I know you're.
Yeah,
buzzing.
and I know the gas. I think for every gallon of gas in California, there's $1 of taxes.
Yeah, it's over $1, I think.
Just taxes per gallon, and hey, 2 years ago we were paying what, $3.50. Yeah, now we're up around $7. Gas has not gone down. It's gone down a little bit because Biden's draining the strategic reserve of oil just to increase his Democrats' chances for the election, which is really not a wise move at all. Just weakening the country. When Trump got all this, he refilled the strategic reserve at really low prices.
We're down. I think they're going to sell more this week. I think they're going to sell more of our strategic
supposed to be
oil.
There for an emergency, for a
but
war.
That's going. You know what? They're going to sell it to these faraway countries, and we're gonna. I mean, it's
just bankrupting the country on so many levels.
Yeah, I just can't understand. It's like they're just out to destroy our country. I don't know. It's just like every day they're doing something to take us down. It's just unbelievable. It's unfathomable. I was listening to Hannity last night, and he's just shaking his head. He's like, I just can't understand it. Why? Why would they want to do this? Well, we know why they want to do it, but it's like unbelievable, and they're doing it right in front of your faces. Right in front of our faces. Listen, I want to shift channels for a minute. And this is another one that I shook my head yesterday, and I was like, how is this possible? So there was a jury on Tuesday that found Igor Danchenko, a private researcher who was a primary source for the 2016 dossier of allegations about former President Trump with his ties to Russia. I know you all know about this. But they found him not guilty. This is the jury. This is a federal jury. I don't understand it. I'm not making any conspiracy or saying this, but something's not right here. He was found guilty of lying to the FBI, but and now he's found not guilty of lying to the FBI about where he got his information. So this jury, I don't know if it was. I don't even know, but I've seen things on TV where they're tainted and stuff like that. I don't want to get into that. But this verdict was in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, and it's another blow for special counsel John Durham, who has lost both cases that have gone to trial as part of a nearly 3.5-year investigation. And Durham was asked by Attorney General William Barr in 2019 to review the FBI's investigation of Trump in his campaign in 2016, to review the FBI's investigation of the Trump campaign back then. And, you know, it was sure to face renewed pressure to wrap up his work following this verdict. But I just can't understand how he was found not guilty. Do you guys have, what are your thoughts? Well, my mouth dropped. I was like, how is that possible? How is that possible? He was found. You know the whole story of this? Am I missing something here?
No, you're absolutely right. It's a travesty.
Didn't this guy come out and say
Yeah.
even that he was guilty?
Yeah, yeah. He obviously lied. He had lied to the FBI on multiple occasions. The core thing here, though, is that the FBI is completely corrupt. The FBI is a sewage pit. It's garbage.
Well, be careful what you say.
It's garbage truck juice.
No, I understand.
Okay?
I understand. I saw something here.
The FBI tried a coup on President Trump. That was
Yeah. Let's get away from all that for a minute. I understand. The FBI did something nasty here in L.A. when they went in and they broke into people's boxes and then they took all the money and everything. Now they're being sued and there's a lot of stuff. Even the judge is telling them to do something, but the FBI acts like they don't have anything to worry about. Well, I don't want to talk about the FBI. I don't want to talk about the FBI. I like to go down the street. The FBI, you got to stay away from them, Andy. I wouldn't talk about the FBI because they can get away with anything they want to do. So that's
exactly my point.
You can't fight the FBI just like you can't fight the IRS. You can't fight the Federal Reserve. These are people that have power, right? We're just little minions in here operating under their control right now. Is what we're doing.
We're trying to bring power back to the individual.
We just got to be careful what we say about the FBI.
Individual sovereignty.
Listen,
what this country is based
on. Let me tell you something. Trump predicted that Durham would uncover the crime of the century inside the U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies that investigated his campaigns linked to Russia. But so far, not one person has been charged by special counsel that's gone to prison, and only one government employee has pleaded guilty to a criminal offense. And in both trials this year, Durham argued that people deceived FBI agents, not that investigators corruptly targeted Trump. This is what Durham's saying. Anyway, so I just want to share that. Now, there's one other thing I want to share. And this has to do with the CEO of Moderna. And I was shocked by this because I even said I thought COVID was a lot like the flu. Like it acted a lot like the flu. Like when I got it, of course, it went away, and I didn't take anything to get it to go away. It just kind of went away. I treated it like the flu. I went and I think I had some Theraflu, and I also had some tea. And it basically went away. It went away in like a couple days. But the COVID-19 booster now market is starting to look more like an annual flu season than it did in the first 2 years of the pandemic. And that's not me saying that, even though I kind of said that. That's according to Moderna, mRNA, CEO Stephen Bancel, who joined Yahoo's Financial 2022 All Market Summit to discuss the COVID vaccine outlook. And Bancel noted that not everyone is likely to need an annual booster. But yet I think I hear Fauci talking to people, get your booster. And he went on with that stupid late night TV show guy last night again, I heard. I just saw a commercial. I thought, oh, God, there he goes again. Stephen Colbert or something like that, whatever that guy's name is. What a jerk. What a guy. Anyway, he went into a pharmacy or something to get his shot, his COVID shot. How many shots they get? And I wonder what they're getting. It's just crazy. Why would you get so many booster shots? I don't know.
I don't think any of the politicians are actually getting the booster shots.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, he said not everyone is likely to get the booster. What's so funny, Robert? I think it's going to be like the flu. This is the CEO of mRNA, Moderna. He says, if you're 25 years old, do you need an annual booster every year if you're healthy? You might want to, but I think it's going to be similar to flu. In other words, he says, if you want to, okay. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I think it's similar to flu, where it's going to be people at high risk, so people over 50 years of age, like me, with comorbidities, well, whatever the hell that is, morbidities, bibbidi. I can't, I don't know what the hell. He says that isn't the 8 billion global population potential market of the pandemic, but it's still 1.5 billion people that fall into those categories. It's a lot of people that are going to need an annual booster, he says, and people that are younger are going to need to decide what to do. Nothing that he has chosen to get an annual flu. So anyway, basically what he's saying is you want to get it, you can get it, you don't get it, you don't get it. But
it's interesting because
oh, by the way, listen, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my attorney friend yesterday, and she was telling me that her daughter is again sick on her birthday. This is the one I told you.
Yeah.
Ever since she got this booster shot, and listen, I won't mention your name, but she was like healthy. She's going to be a tennis pro. She's going to tennis class. You know, she was in tennis camp, the whole bit. She was being noticed. And ever since she got, and I know this for a fact because I know this little girl. She just turned 16 this past Monday. And guess what? Again, sick on her birthday. And she looks up at her mom and said, "Mom, what is happening to me? What is wrong with me?" It's really hard. Really hard when you hear that from a little 16-year-old girl that's beautiful and that has all these opportunities ahead of her, and she can't even get out of the bed maybe 3-4 days out of the week. The other 2 or whatever, she's in bed. She has signs of like strep throat, tonsils, all these weird things that are going on that just make her sick and tired. And so it's like, I'm wishing you the best out there, but, you know, and I told her mom, I'm like, get her blood work done. So we'll see what's going to happen or what's going on.
Yeah, we've seen since the vaccines were rolled out, we've seen a 5x increase in the number of athletes who have collapsed.
I see that
during sports. It's happening everywhere, and you see these people who are the prime condition. These are world-class athletes.
Yeah, I see that.
These are people who are in the best shape of anybody, the elite level athletes, and they're collapsing.
They're just dropping.
They're just
runners,
dropping.
marathon swimmers,
soccer players,
yeah,
basketball players, football players, and this doesn't happen, right? You know, when I was young, I was an athlete, and Rob was a very high-level athlete as well. I never remember anybody just collapsing, and now it's happening left and right, a 5 times increase. And we know that the vaccine, this is one thing even the mainstream has accepted, that it increased the incidence of myocarditis and pericarditis in young men. That's a fact. Okay, that's a fact. And what we're seeing here is something that's unprecedented. I've never seen this. Rob, did you ever see that when you were wrestling, when you were kickboxing, doing these sports?
No, I mean, you know, the biggest thing that would happen is if you train too hard, you're puking, you're throwing up because you put 100% to 150% effort into your training practice, right? So, yeah, this is a wild time that we're living in.
It's wild, wild west. That's for sure. You know,
I'm curious though. It's weird that a lot of these, what are they considered, pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah.
They're always at financial conferences. Like, what is?
Oh, they do that all the time. That goes on all the time.
They basically control the media. When you see brought to you by Pfizer.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, listen.
They control the media, and they control the media narrative, and that's why they're able to get away with what they do. And that people are sheep, people are slaves, and this is part of one of the themes we're always talking about here. This is part of the slavery that the powers that be, the global elites, are trying to.
Speaking about, let me tell you something. Speaking about slavery, you know, Stacey Abrams, that is running there in Georgia, right, against Herschel Walker. Is that right? No, against Kemp. He's running against Kemp.
Walker is running for Senate.
Yeah. Against Kemp. She says, and I quote, "Killing your baby is the best way to fix Democrat-created recession. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas."
Yeah, this is what?
I swear.
This is again what we were talking about. We're in the declining period of the society, the demise of society. Ray Dalio
Yeah,
has spoken of this.
listen what she
Complete
says.
deterioration of moral values.
Listen to what she says. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. This is what she explains. For women, this is not a reductive issue, she said. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy for the economic realities of having a child. Who knew? I can't believe that. There's a video here with her saying it, but I can't show it. But oh my God, it's like, and this woman is running. And then there's a guy that he says, he talks about Herschel Walker. He says he tap dances. He's a house, N-word, angry protester, and he hurls these racial slurs at Herschel Walker at a campaign stop. Oh yeah, this is just this unbelievable. And then what really is interesting talking about this COVID is
let that guy get into the octagon with Herschel Walker and see what happens. Okay,
Herschel punch him out.
Let him get in the octagon.
Yeah, Herschel. I was watching Herschel the other day. He's done some things in his time, but look, everybody does something. Nobody's perfect. God didn't put it.
He's a great candidate.
He is a great candidate. Listen, the top NIH director admits that she was unaware of the Boston Lab's new COVID strain research with 80% death rate and says that the research was not authorized. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's all over the media. Like,
this is a lot of new news too. And according to a report that was published by the Daily Mail on Monday, researchers at the Boston University have developed a new and deadly strain of COVID that has a 80% kill rate similar to the experiments in Wuhan. And many people believe actually started this pandemic. So anyway, at Boston University, this new COVID strain was able to kill 80% of the mice who were infected with it. And the mutant variant is a combination of Omicron and the original Wuhan virus. Now, keep in mind, this is in Boston. This is in the United States. So Boston University's National Emerging Infectious Disease Laboratories is one of only 13 biosafety level 14 facilities in the United States. And the National Institute of Health is a major funder of the biocontainment laboratory at the Boston University. And according to public documents, these are public now, it was partially funded by a grant from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIAID, for $1.1 million. And for, anyway, so this is kind of scary. And listen, this is what the Daily Mail reports. Dr. Edelberg admitted feeling uneasy about the type of research that these grants had been used to fund, given the lingering question about the role of virus manipulation studies and the origins of COVID. And Boston University's Biosafety Level 3 National Emerging Infectious Disease Laboratory extracted the spike protein from Omicron, and then they attached it to the original Wuhan strain that first emerged in China. And then the team then exposed it to human cells in a petri dish and to live mice. And the mutant virus killed 80% of these rodents. And this research is coming quickly under fire from many scientists and politicians now alike, who said they were playing with fire and accused them of conducting gain-of-function research. And the Boston University insisted it was not technically a gain-of-function research because its virus only killed 80% of the mice. And the original Wuhan strain, for comparison, killed 100% of the rodents. And a spokesman for the university told Daily Mail, in fact, that this research made the virus less dangerous. But independent researchers have already challenged that claim, pointing out that currently the dominant Omicron virus was far milder than the new hybrid variant. And Dr. Edelberg said that she wished that the science had informed NIAID of their work. So she told Stat News, what we would have wanted to do is to talk about exactly what they wanted to do in advance. And then we could have put a package forward for review. And there was a spokesman for the Boston University today told the Daily Mail they did not have an obligation to disclose the research. They said that the experiments were carried out with funds from the Boston University. So NIAID's funding was acknowledged as a courtesy because it was used to help develop the tools and the platform that were used in this research, and they did not fund this research directly, is what they said. So they left them with no obligation to report the research to the agency they added. So interesting.
Bullshit.
This interesting. 80% of the mice died. I don't even know why they're still playing with that stuff. Why would you? But you know, who knows what they're playing with in these labs? I mean, you got so many.
You know, it's kind of like what Bill Holter's saying, right? Like, you know, so there's going to be some event, right?
Some big event. That's not just Bill Holter saying. A lot of people say that.
Well, we covered Bill today, right? And he's talking about a massive catastrophic event that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It could be another wave of a virus. It could really be anything. But who are these people to play God? You know, that's what they're doing. They're creating death in a lab. That's what they're doing.
It sounds like it. I mean, even Boston University. I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, listen. I got some last information I want to share. This is some breaking news that just came across my desk. It says the New York Times released today the most non-sensual article on inflation in history. And in its thesis is that the rising cost of living are causing inflation. Huh? What?
Rising cost of living isn't.
What?
Inflation is causing inflation.
I'm unbelievable. Listen, the article
Sounds
goes
like a Kamala Harris quote.
Oh my God. It's like I can't even. Hey, listen, it was great getting the news out to you today. I hope you all got something out of something that we covered today. We'll cover a lot more tomorrow. We're going to keep a wrap, and we're going to keep on top of this inflation, and the numbers that we get, we'll give to you. Those of you that stumble across us and find us out there and just start listening to us and you like the way we talk, subscribe to the channel. There's no cost to the channel. Again, one thing I want to talk about was with Andy. We have a stylist. We found a stylist. Fernando is his name.
I haven't agreed yet, everyone out there.
Andy, I
just want to say that.
So Andy is like being stubborn. And he doesn't want a makeover. I think it's because he might be afraid. I don't know. But listen, he said, let me see comments. And I'm like, okay. So you people out there that see Andy over there, I think it's time for him to have a makeover. So whatever comments you have, he'll take them to heart, and he'll decide on whether or not he wants to have a full makeover. Myself personally, I said, I think he needs a haircut. Some other people have said he needs a haircut. I think that it'd be kind of cool if he put some dreads in there. I don't know. He has that kind of vibe to him, that cool vibe to him. But anyway, I'll leave it up to y'all. And whoever, I don't know, Robert, you mentioned something about a silver eagle yesterday. We're going to give away a silver eagle. How are we giving this away?
Yeah, you got to participate in let your voice be heard, and best comments on.
So whoever's comment
whoever has the best idea.
The best idea we're gonna give a silver American Eagle proof to. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And I'm telling you, what we'll do if Andy decides is we'll literally put him on a stool, and we'll literally, I'm telling you, we'll photograph it. It'll be live. You can make comments, but we'll literally put him on a stool, and you can watch him have his makeover live and in person on the camera on this channel, on our UGG TV channel.
This is going to be great.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We just got to get Andy convinced to have that makeover. Right? I think so. Listen, it's been great. God bless every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow. Tune in, same channel, UGG TV. Subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Call us at 800-753-8534. 800-753-8534 or 323-842-72. 323-380-5485. 323-380-5485.